Hello, everyone. Welcome to Out to Lunch. This is a webinar series that we do for the Earth Science Information Partners Education Committee. There are 10-minute demonstrations of earth science data, tools, and resources with 5 minutes afterwards for Q&A. You can always view our past presentations at these two links here. We have a YouTube playlist. And today, our presenter is Margaret Mooney from the she's the Education and Public Outreach Lead at the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And she's going to talk to us about the GOES-T launch and ways to engage your students in the GOES-T launch. And I will now pass it over to Margaret.
Thanks, Carla. And hello, everyone. Thanks so much to ESIP for hosting this series. There we go. Okay. I work for NOAA's Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies. There's our building. You can see all the satellite dishes on top. We love satellite data, and we think your students will too. A quote just popped up. This was from the ESIP summer meeting last July, where we collected feedback from educators. And this is what one of the teachers said about satellite data. The tie-in of high technology, space science, and earth science bring it all together for students to gather timely, important data on environmental events. And the good news is we have another satellite launching on March 1st with more environmental data. NASA launches the satellites from Kennedy Space Center, and it's NOAA's satellite, and it's GOES-T. It's going to be launched on March 1st. Originally, I was going to go to the launch, and so were, 24 teachers and plus hundreds, if not thousands of other people. But due to the pandemic, unfortunately, less than 700 people in total will be at the launch this year. But we're still excited about it. You can watch it online. It's going to be launched at 4:38 p.m. on the Eastern Standard Time. And that's the beginning of the launch window. So there's 1 hour that the satellite can launch. And then if it doesn't work, the next day is, the backup is the very next day. And there'll be a new launch window, which I don't know what it is. But so it's a 1 hour window, and hopefully it all goes fine. The satellite is now called GOES-T. It's in a satellite series. The series is called the GOES-R Satellite Series, and there are 4 satellites in it. GOES-R launched in 2016, GOES-S launched in 2018, and GOES-T is going to launch this year. Once it's in orbit, once it's in successful orbit around the Earth, it's going to be renamed GOES-18. So that's the way NOAA has always done it. But you'll notice that T is not the 18th number in the alphabet. So they don't always make it to orbit. But so we're going to assume this one will, and it'll be GOES-18, and then it will become our nation's operational weather satellite, which we call GOES-West. We have one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. So GOES-18, now GOES-T, will become GOES-West as early as May of this year. That's really fast. So what the thing is, you may have heard, is that the previous satellite, GOES-17 or GOES-S, has a problem with a cooling pump. So a lot of the infrared imagery has stripes on it and has not been useful to forecasters. So we really have our fingers crossed for this one to, for everything to go well right away. Here's one of the main things I wanted to share with you. And Vicki Gorman, who's a teacher in New Jersey, created this calendar. It's a countdown launch calendar, and it has several ideas to engage your students, like an activity to do almost every day during this month to get your students excited about GOES-T. So Carla's going to put the link in the chat, and I hope that some of these ideas will be useful to you. I'm not going to work through this whole calendar, but I wanted to make sure you had it. So the other way to engage your students around GOES-T and the GOES satellite series is with the data, with GOES data. So what I have here is a local forecast from the National Weather Service. In the bottom right corner, there's a satellite image. If you click on that satellite image, you're checking your forecast, you can go to the satellite data. What pops up would be the table on the right screen, and it's all the different bands. So these GOES satellites measure 16 different bands in the electromagnetic spectrum. That's a lot. And then also there's some products where we combine some bands. So this is what this is what NOAA satellites makes available to everyone in the United States. Well, everybody in our hemisphere, everybody everywhere can see it, but it's more useful to people in this hemisphere. So from where I live, when I click on a satellite image, I see GOES East. If you live on the West Coast and you click on your satellite image, you're going to get data from GOES West. I just wanted to show you, this is a screenshot of all the different tables and products that are available. If you don't go from your National Weather Service forecast and you just Google the GOES image viewer or NOAA satellites GOES, this is the screen you'll come to. I'm going to go live for a minute and show you how easy it is to use this. I'm scrolling my cursor over. You can see the different sections of the United States or Canada. And then I'm going to click on the Great Lakes region because that's my region. And then here's that page with all the different options and all the data you can use. And then you can see that each one has several options. And what these are different sizes of images. So depending on your bandwidth, maybe you want a small image or maybe not. So I'm going to look at just the natural color for today in the Great Lakes region. It's pretty cloudy. There's Lake Superior up there. You can also, for all of these, download an animated GIF. And so that's sunrise happening there. As you know, there's a massive storm in the country. So I think what you could do between now and the launch is look at a satellite image every day. That's pretty easy. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now. Another thing to engage your students is to do a project for the GOES Virtual Science Fair. We've been running these since 2019. It's going on right now. And I want to give you some ideas for that. We have a web page, obviously. There's the URL. I think Carla's going to put it in the chat box also. So I'm just showing you some past submissions. These are the top projects. You can see that students do classic posters, as these two pictures are, and they also do PowerPoint posters. In 2020, the pandemic hit. So the previous year, those are student groups. But this year, students working remotely did it themselves. And these are the top projects that were individual students. The high school one, weather impacting COVID-19 management. The middle school one, does barometric pressure have a correlation with cloud composition and quantity? I mean, really, you can do a virtual science fair submission on just about any topic that you can investigate with GOES data. Here's last year, this is the high school one, tornado predictability with GOES-R, a case study of April 23rd, 2021, very in-depth, several satellite images. And then the middle school one was also about tornadoes and supercells, and they compared tornado images with ground truth. If you go to the virtual science page, Science Fair web page, you'll see lots of resources. We have a PowerPoint template. We have a scoring rubric. As you know, if you want to do well on almost anything, there's a scoring rubric. Just check that and make sure you've got all those boxes covered. There's also a short learning module. Basically, this gives every student what they need to know and then some to enter the science fair. It's short, there's 7 pages, 6 videos, and 1 activity. And it gives you all the information about the Earth observing instruments on the GOES-R series satellites. There's actually 5 instruments, 3 look to space, but 2 of them look to the Earth. And that's the Advanced Baseline Imager, where we get all those 16 bands, and also the Geostationary Lightning Mapper. So using those those tools and those data are perfect for this virtual science fair. This is all part of the GoesR Education Proving Ground. This has been around since before GoesR was launched. We have several interactive HTML5 web apps to learn more about things like resolution and frequency of satellite images and what happens when you combine a couple bands to get different products, all on the GoesR Proving Ground webpage. Here are 3 ideas for the virtual science fair. Just forecast the near-term weather and track it and analyze it with satellite data. Another one is we have something called the Sim Satellite blog. Students could retell a case study from the Sim Satellite blog. They always have a lot of satellite imagery on them, but they're aimed at like weather service forecasters. So, you know, it would take some work, but some students have done this. They just retell it at their grade level. Or you could just investigate any natural hazard like a wildfire or flooding event. But here's my favorite, one of my favorite ideas is that you just follow your local National Weather Service office on social media. Here's the nor'easter from last weekend. So on January 26th, National Weather Service Boston says, well, why can't we forecast the exact amount of snow yet? It's 3 days out, and they go into the details about why the difference between where the rain snow line is really makes a difference, and they just have to wait a day or two. And then a couple of days later, they say, okay, it's starting to form offshore Florida, and they show a visible satellite image and talk about that a bit. And then later that day, in fact, in the middle of the night, because Weather Service works 24/7, right? 3 shifts. This is a midnight tweet. They said, read this information from the NWS Storm Prediction Center to learn more about the storm. Then the next day, they show a visible satellite image. They outline where the center of the storm is. A little bit later, they shared water vapor satellite image, and they talk about the curvature in that storm and that this is indicative of heavy snow. Then the next day, et voila, look at all the snow. So I think that here's an outline for a virtual science fair project right here from one weekend event, just by following, as I suggested, your local National Weather Service, because a storm near your location might be more interesting, but maybe you want to study the nor'easter and you live in Texas and you just want to do a project on the nor'easter. So it's going on now. We're accepting submissions. You can do it in teams or you can do it individually. So you just need to use GOES data. So as I mentioned, GOES T is going to be launched on March 1st. That data will be available this summer, but not for the science fair. But we have the previous GOES that we can use the data from. Yeah, we have 3 winning teams, middle school, high school, or grades 13 and 14. And the top prizes get $25 gift cards plus excellent resume material and experience for future careers and college applications. The students design their own research project. They create a poster and they present the poster. If you go to college in the sciences, you're going to be doing that quite frequently, or either for school or for your career. So this is a great experience for students. And the GOES T launch is a great opportunity to get, use this excitement and get students excited about satellite data. So thank you very much. Any questions, let me know.
We're a small enough group of folks that if you want to just verbally ask a question as opposed to putting it in the chat, you can do so. You just need to unmute yourself. Do you have a question?
I seem to be having technical difficulties.
No worries.
Anyway, I didn't quite catch where these were, but you showed us some web apps that allowed students to explore different resolutions and then bands and aspects like that. And where might I find those?
I'll put it in the chat. Just let me grab it.
And we will be, I assume, Margaret, you'll be giving me the slides and we can post your PowerPoint with the links too.
Absolutely.
So we'll do that, but Margaret will put the direct one in here.
I wanted to mention that in creating these, we worked with NOAA's Tim Smith, and then we have a group of teachers that, so they'd say what they wanted. And there, I just put it in the chat. They'd say what they wanted, and then we'd work on it, and then we'd share it with them and improve them. So they're pretty cool.
Yeah, no, these are very exciting. I feel like excellent hands-on demos.
Some of them have, or one or two of them have like a worksheet too, with ideas about how to then engage your students a little further.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing these. I'm definitely
Sure,
gonna explore
thank
these.
you.
Judith, did you have any questions? Okay. Has a class now, understood. Okay, with that then, I'm going to just put up the last slide to let you know what's going on next week. So next Wednesday, Trinity Foreman, who is a communications consultant with NOAA's National Center for Environmental Information, is going to present about a data set of tsunami events from 1815 to the present that is animated, and they have different ideas of what to do with this involving kids. And so it's a really cool data set. So I hope that you'll be able to join us next Wednesday at noon Central Time. Again, we record these, so you can always grab the recording and look at it if you're not able to come to the actual webinar. So thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you, Carla, and everyone.
Okay. With that, if there's no further questions, we will end